Commander Vectis slammed 3 of his 4 fists onto the obsidian table, creating a sound that echoed through the High Council chamber like thunder in a cave. The Krellian war leader's crimson scales rippled with barely contained fury, and his secondary mouths clicked in agitation. "This is an insult," he roared, his voice reverberating off the vaulted ceiling. "The humans dare to resist us? They dare to fight back against the Krellian dominion?" The council chamber itself was a monument to intimidation. Carved from a single massive asteroid, its walls were embedded with the skulls of 1,000 conquered species. Bioluminescent fungi cast an eerie blue glow across the proceedings, while the floor, polished to a mirror shine, reflected the 7 council members in twisted, distorted angles. It was designed to make visitors feel small, insignificant, crushed by the weight of Krellian superiority. Chancellor Morphix, a gelatinous being who occupied a specialized containment throne, rippled with what might have been amusement. Her translator device crackled to life. "Commander, please. Your theatrics are noted, but unnecessary. The humans are insects. Annoying insects, certainly, but insects nonetheless. Insects that destroyed 3 of our battle cruisers." Vectis snapped back, his tail lashing behind him. "Insects that somehow turned our own weapons against us. Insects that actually laugh, when we issue surrender demands." Sitting to Morphix's left, High Priest Julker folded his 6 arms in a gesture of contemplation. The elderly Vexorian's face tentacles quivered as he spoke, his voice a low rumble that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "The human problem requires a solution that demonstrates our superiority. We must remind the galaxy why the Krellian dominion is feared." "Agreed," chimed in Ambassador Reet, whose insectoid features twitched with anticipation. Her compound eyes refracted the chamber's light into 1,000 tiny points. "But what message do we send? Destruction is too quick, too merciful. These primates need to understand fear before they understand death." Vectis allowed himself a predatory grin, revealing rows of serrated teeth. "Which is why I brought a gift to today's session." He gestured to the guard stationed at the chamber's entrance. "Bring in the cargo." The massive doors groaned open, and 2 hulking Krellian soldiers entered, dragging a containment pod between them. Inside, visible through the transparent aluminum shell, sat a small human child. A female, if Vectis remembered the intelligence briefings correctly, perhaps 8 or 9 solar cycles old, with brown hair pulled into 2 side configurations that their research called pigtails, and wearing some sort of colorful garment decorated with images of Earth animals. The council members leaned forward with interest. "A juvenile?" Morphix's gelatinous form pulsed with confusion. "Commander, I fail to see how this helps our situation." "This," Vectis said, circling the pod like a shark around wounded prey, "was captured during our raid on the human colony of New Terra. Their military fought to protect the evacuation ships, and this little creature was left behind in the chaos. The humans sent 17, count them, 17 rescue attempts to retrieve her. They lost 4 ships and approximately 300 soldiers trying to get her back. That got everyone's attention." High Priest Julker's face tentacles stopped moving entirely, a sign of deep thought among his species. "Fascinating," the priest murmured. "They value their young to an irrational degree. More than irrational," Vectis continued, his confidence growing. "It's a weakness we can exploit. But more immediately, it's an opportunity for a demonstration." He paused for dramatic effect, letting the silence stretch. "I propose we feed this human child to Snowfang." The reaction was immediate and varied. Ambassador Reet's antennae shot straight up in surprise. Morphix's entire form quivered. Julker's tentacles writhed with what might have been approval. The other council members, previously silent, now murmured among themselves. General Krath, a scarred veteran whose species resembled bipedal crocodiles, laughed, a harsh barking sound. "Snowfang? You want to use our sacred execution beast on a child? Commander, that seems excessive." "Excessive." Vectis spread all 4 arms wide. "No, General, it's perfect. We broadcast it across every human communication channel. We show them what happens when they defy us. We let them watch as their precious offspring becomes a meal for our most feared predator. The psychological damage alone will cripple their war effort." Morphix considered this, her translucent form shifting colors from blue to a thoughtful purple. "The humans do have a peculiar attachment to their young. Our intelligence suggests they'll negotiate almost anything to ensure juvenile safety. This could work, assuming Snowfang cooperates." "Snowfang has never failed," Vectis said with absolute certainty. 300 executions, 300 kills, murderers, traitors, Enemy commanders, all gone in minutes, often seconds. That beast is the most efficient killer in our arsenal. High Priest Jalkur raised one hand, his voice taking on a ceremonial tone. If we do this, we do it properly. The full ritual, the traditional arena. Representatives from all allied species as witnesses. This must be a spectacle that echoes across the galaxy. The vote was called. One by one, the council members signaled their approval. Some with enthusiasm, others with calculated political consideration. But the result was unanimous. Prepare the execution arena, Chancellor Morphix announced, her voice carrying the weight of official decree. Notify the beast handlers to ready Snowfang. Send invitations to our allies and, yes, make sure the humans can watch every moment. Let them see what their resistance has cost them. As the guards dragged the containment pod away, none of the council members noticed that the small human inside wasn't crying, wasn't screaming, wasn't showing any of the fear responses their xenopsychology experts had predicted. She was humming something, a tune from her world, and if anyone had bothered to listen closely, they might have recognized it as a song human children sang about a place called Old MacDonald's Farm, which featured, among other creatures, several animals that went woof. But the Krellian High Council was too busy congratulating themselves on their brilliance to pay attention to such small details. They would regret that oversight very, very soon. The execution arena sat in the bowels of the Krellian flagship like a diseased heart, pulsing with ancient violence. Senior beast handler Quarix ran his clawed hand along the reinforced titanium bars of Snowfang's holding pen, feeling the vibrations of the creature's breathing on the other side. Today, old friend, he whispered in the traditional keeper's blessing, you feast on the flesh of our enemies. Today you remind the galaxy why the Krellian dominion stands unchallenged. Behind those bars, something massive shifted in the darkness. Two eyes, pale as winter moons, reflected the dim corridor lighting. A low rumble, barely audible, vibrated through the floor plating. Snowfang was awake, and Snowfang was hungry. Quarix had served as head beast handler for 20 cycles, and he'd never seen an execution beast as perfect as Snowfang. The creature stood nearly 3 meters at the shoulder with fur so white it seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Its teeth, each the length of a Krellian forearm, could crush battle armor like thin plastic. Its claws could tear through starship hull plate, but it was the kill count that made Snowfang legendary. 300 executions. 300 perfect kills. The beast had devoured Ixarian pirates who dared raid Krellian supply lines. It had torn apart Vixorian heretics who'd questioned the High Priestess' authority. It had executed the former planetary governor of Sector 7, who'd embezzled enough credits to buy a small moon. Traitors, cowards, enemies of the state. All had entered that arena walking, and all had left as nothing more than stains on the stone floor. Handler Quarix called Junior Keeper Milvac scurrying down the corridor with a data pad clutched in his smaller appendages. The purification ritual is scheduled to begin in 20 minutes. The council wants Snowfang bathed in the ceremonial oils and blessed by High Priest Jalkur himself. Quarix nodded. Standard protocol for high-profile executions. Has the arena been prepared? Inspection teams cleared it an hour ago. Cameras positioned, force fields tested, seating arranged for the council and guests. Oh, and the humans have been sent the broadcast codes. They'll be watching, whether they want to or not. Down the corridor near the guard station, a cluster of lower-ranked soldiers had gathered around a portable holo display. Their voices carried in the peculiar acoustics of the metal hallway. 20 credits says the human doesn't last 15 seconds, announced Guard Tekris, a young Krellian barely past his military training. His scales still had the bright sheen of youth, unmarred by combat scars. 15 seconds? Scoffed his companion, a hulking Brutarian named Gormith. I'll take that bet and raise you. 10 seconds. Maximum. I've seen Snowfang work. The creature doesn't play with its food. A third guard, Senior Officer Halvix, leaned against the wall with the casual confidence of someone who'd seen actual combat. You're both wrong. 5 seconds. Maybe less. Did you see the size of that human juvenile? It's tiny. Barely comes up to my third knee joint. Snowfang will probably swallow it whole and be disappointed there wasn't more meat. The betting pool had started small but had grown throughout the shift. Currently it sat at over 300 credits, with most bets clustering around the 5 to 15 second range. A few optimistic souls had wagered the human might last a full minute, but those were considered suicide bets, the kind you made when you'd had too much fermented Gralix juice and lost touch with reality. I almost feel bad for it, Tekris admitted, his voice dropping. I mean, it's just a kid, right? Even if it is human. That's your problem, Tekris. Halvix replied, his tone hardening. You think too much. Humans aren't like us. They don't value strength, honor, or tradition. They're weak, emotional, and worst of all, they're stubborn. This execution will teach them the cost of that stubborn streak. While the guards debated and gambled, the subject of their wagers sat in a containment cell 3 levels above, completely unaware she was supposed to be terrified. 8-year-old Lily Chen had found a piece of charcoal somehow, probably from a maintenance kit someone had left near her cell. The guards hadn't thought to search for art supplies because, well, why would they? She was scheduled to be executed in less than an hour. But Lily, with the focused determination that only children possess, was drawing on the walls. Dogs. Dozens of them. Big dogs, small dogs, fluffy dogs, skinny dogs. She'd drawn her own dog from back home, a golden retriever named Biscuit. She'd drawn her neighbor's husky, Matt. She'd drawn every dog she'd ever met, seen, or imagined, creating a gallery of canine friends across the sterile metal surface. And she was humming that same tune from earlier, something about farms and animals. Her voice, high and clear, echoed in the small space with an eerie cheerfulness that made the guards outside her cell deeply uncomfortable. Is it broken? One guard whispered to another. Shouldn't it be crying, making distress noises? Maybe humans process fear differently, the second guard replied, though he sounded uncertain. Maybe this is what human terror looks like. They had no idea how wrong they were. In her cell, Lily finished drawing a particularly good picture of a wolf, gave it a big smile, and sat back to admire her work. She'd been told she was going to meet something called Snowfang, and while the adults had sounded scared when they said the name, Lily had a pretty good feeling about the whole situation. After all, it sounded like a big doggy. And Lily loved doggies. The execution arena's main doors opened with a pneumatic hiss that had, over the years, become synonymous with approaching death. The sound alone had made hardened warriors weep, had caused convicted criminals to lose control of their bodily functions, had transformed the proud into the pathetic in seconds. Lily Chen skipped through those doors like she was entering a birthday party. The arena itself was a circular chamber, roughly 50 meters in diameter, with walls that rose 15 meters to an observation gallery where the High Council and their guests sat in tiered seating. Lighting rigs hung from the domed ceiling, positioned to eliminate shadows and ensure every camera captured every angle of the execution. The floor was smooth stone, polished by the blood of 300 previous victims until it gleamed like dark glass. 2 guards flanked Lily, their weapons drawn but their expressions confused. They'd expected to drag her in. They'd trained for screaming, for resistance, for the desperate final struggles of the condemned. Instead, they were essentially escorting a tourist. Wow, Lily said, her voice carrying in the acoustic perfect chamber with startling clarity. This place is really big. Is this where you have your meetings? My mom's office is way smaller than this. Up in the observation gallery, Commander Vectus felt his secondary mouths go dry. This was not according to script. The human child should be paralyzed with fear by now. Not offering commentary on architecture, Chancellor Morphix leaned forward in her containment throne, her gelatinous body shifting to a concerned orange hue. Is the creature defective? Our intelligence suggested humans experience fear. They do, Vectus insisted, though his voice had lost some of its earlier confidence. Perhaps it doesn't understand what's about to happen. High Priest Jolker's face tentacles writhed with agitation. It will understand soon enough. The guards positioned Lily in the center of the arena, then retreated to the safety doors with visible relief. Standard protocol called for the condemned to be restrained, but the council had decided against it. They wanted the human to run, to scramble, to provide entertainment. A moving target always made for better viewing. Lily looked up at the observation gallery, shielding her eyes against the bright lights with one small hand. She could see shapes up there, lots of different shapes, all watching her. Hello, she called out, waving with her free hand. I'm Lily, what are your names? The silence that followed was the kind of profound quiet that occurs when an entire room full of beings collectively forgets how to process information. Ambassador Vreet's antennae drooped. Did it just introduce itself? This is psychological warfare, General Krath announced, though he sounded like he was trying to convince himself. The humans trained it to act this way, to throw us off balance. It's a tactic. It's an 8-year-old child, Morphix countered, her form flickering through several colors of confusion. What tactical training could it possibly have? Down in the arena, Lily had started exploring her surroundings with the curious intensity of a kid in a new place. She walked to the edge of the chamber, running her hand along the wall. This is really smooth. How did you make it so smooth? Do you polish it? One of the junior council members, a Phylexian named Prax, made a choking sound. It's polished with blood. 300 beings have died on that floor. Lily apparently didn't hear him, or more likely didn't understand the implications. She'd moved on to examining the massive reinforced gate on the far side of the arena. The gate that led to Snowfang's holding area. Is something behind there? She asked, pressing her face close to the bars. I can hear breathing. Big breathing. Is it a big animal? Vectis stood abruptly, his forearms gesturing to the beast handlers in their control booth. Enough of this farce. Release Snowfang. Now, the ceremonial gong sounded, a deep resonant tone that had historically signaled the beginning of the end. Warning lights flashed red around the reinforced gate, hydraulic systems engaged with a mechanical whine, and the massive door began to rise, inch by inch, revealing darkness beyond. The betting guards in their observation posts leaned forward. The council members gripped their armrests. The camera zoomed in, broadcasting to human frequencies across known space. And Lily, rather than running, rather than screaming, rather than doing anything remotely sensible, pressed herself closer to the rising gate with her hands clasped together in excitement. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, she whispered, bouncing on her toes. Is it a dog? Please tell me it's a dog. I love dogs. We had to leave Biscuit behind when the bad ships came and I miss him so much, and Mom said maybe we could get another dog. But then you guys caught me and... The growl that emerged from beyond the gate cut off her rambling. It was a sound that bypassed rational thought and spoke directly to the prey instinct buried in every evolved creature's brain. It was the sound of fangs and hunger and 300 kills. It was the sound of death approaching. And Lily Chen, 8 years old, only child of Dr. Sarah Chen and engineer Marcus Chen, resident of New Terra Colony, owner of one golden retriever named Biscuit, lover of cartoons and chocolate milk, and her tablet with all the dog videos downloaded on it, made a sound that froze every being in that arena. She squealed with delight. It is a dog. It's a really, really big dog. The gate finished opening, and Snowfang stepped into the light. Snowfang emerged from the darkness like a glacier given teeth and fury. The creature's pure white fur seemed to glow under the arena lights, each strand pristine and deadly. Its muscles rippled beneath that coat, power coiled and ready to explode. Those pale eyes, devoid of mercy or hesitation, locked onto the small figure in the center of the arena with the focus of an apex predator that had never, not once in 300 kills, failed to complete its purpose. The beast's lips pulled back, revealing fangs that caught the light like polished daggers. A strand of saliva dripped from its jaws, hitting the stone floor with an audible splat. Its shoulders bunched, haunches tensing, every fiber of its considerable being preparing for the charge. Commander Vectis allowed himself a satisfied smile. Finally, this madness would end properly. Snowfang launched forward with explosive speed, crossing 10 meters in barely a second. The sound of its claws on stone was like machine gun fire, rapid and deadly. Its jaws opened impossibly wide, designed to clamp around a victim's torso and crush vital organs in a single bite. 300 times this charge had meant death. 300 times those jaws had closed on flesh and bone. 301 should have been no different. Lily Chen clapped her hands together and laughed, a pure sound of joy that rang through the arena like a bell. Look how fast you are. Good boy. Such a good, fast boy. Snowfang's charge faltered. Just for a microsecond. Just the tiniest hiccup in its stride, but it was there. The beast's ears, normally pinned back during a kill, flicked forward in confusion. That sound, that high-pitched human noise, it wasn't screaming. It wasn't the sound of prey in distress. The wolf skidded to a halt 3 meters from Lily, its claws gouging furrows in the polished stone. Its massive head lowered, eyes narrowing as it tried to process what its senses were telling it. The prey wasn't running. The prey wasn't afraid. The prey was making happy noises. Up in the observation gallery, High Priest Jolker half rose from his seat. What is it doing? Why did it stop? It's evaluating the threat, General Krith said, but his voice carried uncertainty. Standard predator behavior when encountering unknown variables. The variable is a 50-pound human child. Vectis roared. There's nothing to evaluate. Kill it, you stupid beast. But Snowfang, 300 kills to its name, experienced killer of warriors and criminals alike, was experiencing something entirely outside its programming. Every execution before had followed the same pattern. Release, chase, catch, kill. The prey always ran, which triggered the chase instinct. The prey always screamed, which confirmed their status as prey. The prey always smelled of fear, that acrid scent that said weak, vulnerable, killable. This small creature smelled like curiosity and something else. Something the wolf's genetic memory recognized but couldn't quite place. Lily, completely unaware she was supposed to be torn apart by now, dropped into a crouch and made a noise that hadn't been heard in the execution arena's entire bloody history. Bruce, Bruce. Here, puppy, puppy, puppy. Come here, sweetie. Who's a good boy? Who's a good big boy? She was using the voice, that universal pitch and tone that humans have employed for 40,000 years. The voice that bypasses logic and speaks directly to something ancient and primal in canine brains. The voice that says pack, family, friend, say. Snowfang's tail, which should have been rigid and dominant, twitched. Just slightly, just once. Chancellor Morphix turned to Vectis, her gelatinous form now a deep purple of alarm. Commander, this is not proceeding as planned. I can see that, Vectis snapped, slamming a fist on his armrest hard enough to crack it. Lily started making more sounds, clicking her tongue, patting her knees, performing the entire repertoire of dog-calling techniques passed down through human generations. She was smiling so wide her face looked like it might split, her eyes shining with the desperate hope of every kid who's ever wanted to pet a dog. Come on, big guy, I won't hurt you. Promise. Look, I'm not scary. She held out both hands, palms up, in the universal gesture of non-aggression that every dog owner knows instinctively. Snowfang took a step forward, then stopped, growled at itself, confused by its own actions. The wolf tried to remember its training. Kill, that was the command. Kill the thing in the arena. But this thing wasn't acting like prey. Prey ran. This thing was approaching, slowly, still making those soft sounds that made something in the wolf's ancient DNA feel strange. Not threatened. Not hungry. Something else entirely. You're so pretty. Lily cooed, taking tiny steps forward. Your fur is so white and fluffy. Bet you're super soft. Are you soft? I bet you are. Ambassador Vreed's antennae were now completely flat against her head, a sign of extreme distress in her species. Someone explain what is happening. Please, someone explain this. Nobody could. Snowfang's ears were now fully forward, its head tilted slightly to one side in the universal canine expression of confusion. The killing machine was thinking, processing, trying to understand why its instincts were misfiring so badly. Then Lily reached into her pocket. Every weapon in the observation gallery swung toward her. Fingers tightened on triggers. Vectis shouted, if she has a weapon, if she harms that beast. But what Lily pulled out wasn't a weapon. It was a slightly squashed protein bar, the kind that human children snack on. She'd apparently saved it from her last meal before capture, keeping it hidden in her jumpsuit pocket. She broke off a piece, and the smell of processed grains and synthetic peanut butter wafted through the arena. Are you hungry, puppy? Want a snack? I know it's not much, but it's pretty good. I like the chocolate chip ones better, but this is peanut butter flavor, and it's still nice. She tossed the piece of protein bar toward Snowfang. It landed about a meter from the wolf's massive paws. Snowfang looked at the food. Looked at the small human. Looked back at the food. In 300 executions, prey had never offered it food. Prey didn't share. Prey didn't make friendly sounds. Prey didn't approach with hands extended and eyes bright with hope. The wolf lowered its head and sniffed the protein bar piece. The scent was strange, processed, nothing like the meat it normally consumed. But the gesture, the offering that triggered something buried deep in its DNA, something that remembered thousands of generations ago when wolves and humans first met around campfires and discovered they could be something other than predator and prey. Snowfang ate the protein bar piece, and Lily Chen absolutely lost her mind with happiness. Good boy. Oh, what a good boy. You ate it. You like it. Here, have more. She tossed another piece, this one a bit closer to herself. Up in the gallery, Korix the beast handler stood frozen, his datapad slipping from his nerveless fingers. In 20 years of service through hundreds of executions, he'd never seen Snowfang accept food from anyone except himself. The wolf took another step forward and ate the second piece. Lily's smile could have lit up a small city. The third piece of protein bar landed directly at Snowfang's feet, and this time the wolf didn't hesitate. It snapped up the morsel and, in a movement that made every council member's blood run cold, its tail wagged. Just once. Just a slight swish. But unmistakable. No, Vectis whispered, his crimson scales losing their vibrant color. No. This cannot be happening. But it was happening. And it was about to get so much worse. Lily, emboldened by her success, closed the remaining distance between herself and 300 kilograms of apex predator. She was now less than a meter away, well within killing range, close enough that Snowfang could have ended her with a casual snap of its jaws. Instead, the wolf sat down. Actually sat. Haunches on the ground, tail sweeping side to side across the blood-polished stone. Its massive head was now roughly level with Lily's, and those pale eyes which had watched the light fade from so many victims were fixed on her with an expression that could only be described as interested. "Oh, you're such a good sitter," Lily praised, using that special voice again. "Yes, you are. Such a good sit. Can I pet you? Can I? Please?" She didn't wait for an answer because 8-year-olds don't really understand rhetorical questions when there's a dog involved. Her small hand reached out, fingers extended, moving toward Snowfang's massive skull. Corix was halfway out of his seat, a warning dying in his throat. "You didn't touch Snowfang, ever." The last handler who'd tried had lost 2 fingers before Corix could intervene with the shock collar. Lily's hand made contact with the wolf's fur right between its ears and started scratching. Snowfang's eyes half closed. Its rear legs started thumping against the floor in that involuntary response that all dogs, from chihuahuas to apparently alien execution wolves, share when you hit the good spot. The sound echoed through the arena like a drum. Thump, thump, thump. "Oh my gosh, you like that, don't you? Right there? Yeah, that's the good spot. Biscuit loved this too. You're just like Biscuit, but way, way bigger and whiter. But still a good boy. Yes, you are." High Priest Jolker's face tentacles had gone completely rigid, a physiological response in his species that only occurred during moments of extreme shock. "Someone explained to me," he said slowly, carefully, "why our most feared execution beast is currently receiving ear scratches from its intended victim." "I can explain," came a new voice from the back of the observation gallery. Dr. Nemath, the council's senior xenobiologist, pushed through the crowd with her 8 legs moving in agitated patterns. She'd been called in from her lab the moment it became clear something was going catastrophically wrong. Her datapad was clutched in her forward appendages, and her eye stalks were vibrating with what might have been academic excitement or sheer horror. "Explain quickly," Morphix demanded, her form now cycling through colors so rapidly she looked like a malfunctioning light display. "It's the domestication phenomenon," Dr. Nemeth said, pulling up holographic displays that floated above her datapad. "Our intelligence on humans was criminally incomplete. We knew they were aggressive, territorial, and technologically capable. What we didn't know, what we failed to understand, is that humans have been manipulating predator species for genetic bonding for approximately 40,000 Earth years." She pulled up an image of a wolf, then a dog, then dozens of dog breeds in rapid succession. "They call it domestication. They take apex predators, creatures that should by all rights be competing with them for resources, and they reprogram them, not through technology, through behavior, through bonding, through what they call friendship." General Kreth leaned forward. "You're saying the human child is somehow reprogramming Snowfang? In real time? That's impossible." "Watch," Dr. Nemath said, gesturing to the arena below. Lily had now moved on from scratching to full-body petting, running her hands through Snowfang's fur with the confidence of someone who'd been doing this her entire life. The wolf had rolled partially onto its side, giving her better access, its tail now wagging with enough force to create a small dust cloud. "Good boy, fluffy boy, soft boy," Lily chanted in a sing-song voice. "Who's got the softest fur?" "You do." "Yes, you do. So soft, so pretty. Are you a good protector?" "I bet you are. I bet you protect everyone here. Such a good protector, puppy." The word puppy in reference to a 300-kill execution beast made several council members actually flinch. Dr. Nemath continued, her voice taking on the tone of someone delivering very bad news. "Humans don't see Snowfang as a threat. They see what they call a dog. On Earth, humans live with canines. Wolves. Descendants of wolves, genetic cousins of wolves. They've spent 40 millennia turning predators into companions. It's in their cultural DNA. That child isn't scared because to her, Snowfang is just a very large version of something she's been conditioned her entire life to love and trust. But Snowfang," Vectis protested weakly. "Snowfang is trained. Conditioned. It kills on command." "Snowfang is a wolf," Dr. Nemeth corrected. "And wolves, despite thousands of years of evolution, carry certain behavioral triggers. Pack bonding, food sharing, submissive gestures, friendly vocalizations. The child is hitting every single one of those triggers perfectly. She's speaking a language Snowfang's ancestors understood before your species even crawled out of its primordial swamps." Ambassador Vreet made a strangled sound. "So you're telling us that humans can simply befriend predators? Just like that?" Not all predators, Dr. Nemeth admitted, but canine-type predators. Apparently yes. And rather effectively, based on current evidence. Down in the arena, Lily had found Snowfang's belly. The wolf was now fully on its back, paws in the air, tail wagging so hard its entire body was wiggling. The sight of the Krellian Dominion's most feared execution beast reduced to this state would have been comedic if it wasn't so absolutely terrifying in its implications. Tummy rubs. You want tummy rubs? Who's got a fluffy tummy? Such a fluffy tummy. Lily was in heaven, her hands working through the thick fur while Snowfang made a sound that could only be described as a contented groan. That's when the emergency alarm started blaring. Because 4 guards, assigned to stand watch at the arena's perimeter, had decided to intervene. They'd seen enough. This was an embarrassment to the Dominion. The execution needed to proceed as planned, and if Snowfang wouldn't do its job, they'd have to complete it themselves. They burst through the safety doors, weapons drawn, moving in tactical formation toward the girl and the wolf. "Stand away from the beast!" the lead guard shouted. "By order of the High Council, the execution will proceed." Lily looked up from her tummy rubbing, confused. "But we're playing. He likes it. Don't you, boy?" Snowfang heard the approaching footsteps, heard the aggressive tones, saw armed figures moving toward the small creature that smelled like pack, like friend, like the first human who'd ever touched it with kindness instead of shock prods and training pain. The wolf's eyes snapped open, and the playful creature vanished. In its place was 300 kills of experience and every ounce of protective instinct that evolution had provided. Snowfang flipped to its feet in one fluid motion, placing itself between Lily and the approaching guards. Its lips pulled back in a snarl that made its earlier growl sound like a lullaby. The hackles along its spine rose like a wall of knives, and the sound that came from its throat was a promise of violence so pure and primal that all 4 guards froze mid-step. "Good boy," Lily said from behind the wolf, completely missing the danger. "Protect mode." Biscuit did that too when the mailman came. "You're such a good guard dog." The lead guard raised his weapon, and Snowfang lunged. The lead guard didn't die, but only because Commander Vectus activated the emergency force fields with half a second to spare. Snowfang slammed into the shimmering barrier with enough force to crack 3 teeth and leave a dent in the reinforced energy matrix. The wolf rebounded, positioning itself back in front of Lily, still snarling, still ready to tear apart anything that threatened its new pack member. "Stand down. Everyone stand down." Vectus roared into the communication system. The guards retreated, practically tripping over themselves. The force fields held, and in the center of the arena, Lily wrapped her arms around Snowfang's neck. "It's okay, Moonpie. They're not gonna hurt us. You're such a good protector." "Yes, you are, Moonpie. My brave Moonpie." In the observation gallery, dead silence greeted this announcement. "Moonpie?" General Krath repeated, his voice hollow. "She named it Moonpie?" "Our 300-kill execution beast," Morphix said slowly, her form a sickly gray color, "is now called Moonpie." The council tried to remove Lily from the arena. That lasted about 30 seconds before Moonpie made it abundantly clear that anyone attempting to separate him from the small human would be separated from their limbs instead. When they tried to sedate the wolf remotely, Lily cried, actual tears streaming down her face begging them not to hurt her new friend. The sight of those tears seemed to enrage the beast further. When they threatened to space both of them, Lily just hugged the wolf tighter and said, "That's okay. Moonpie and I will be together. Right, boy?" Moonpie licked her face with a tongue the size of a dinner plate. 4 hours later, after the most humiliating emergency council session in Krellian history, the entire High Council sat in their private chamber while Dr. Nemeth delivered a presentation that would fundamentally reshape their understanding of humanity. "Let me be very clear," the xenobiologist began, her eye stalks fixed on each council member in turn. "We didn't just fail today. We revealed a catastrophic gap in our intelligence gathering. Humans are not simply aggressive primates with advanced technology. They are the galaxy's most accomplished predator manipulators." She pulled up historical data from Earth, images scrolling past faster than most species could process. Dogs, domesticated from wolves, approximately 40,000 years ago. Humans took apex predators and turned them into companions, workers, and family members. There are now over 300 distinct breeds, each designed for specific purposes. But it doesn't stop there, Dr. Nemeth continued, her voice taking on an almost frantic edge. Cats. Small ambush predators with retractable claws and hunting instincts. Humans domesticated them. They live in human homes, sleep in human beds. Humans post images of them on their communication networks and call them cute. Ambassador Vreet's antennae drooped further with each revelation. Horses, large prey animals that should see humans as predators, domesticated for transportation and companionship. Ferrets, literal weasels, carnivorous tube-shaped murder machines. Humans keep them as pets and dress them in tiny costumes. Rabbits, chickens, pigs, even some humans keep reptiles as companions, species that don't even have the brain structures necessary for traditional bonding. High Priest Jolker raised one trembling hand. Surely there are limits. Surely humans fear some predators. Dr. Nemeth pulled up a video file. This is from Earth's information networks. A human child, approximately Lily's age, attempting to pet a wild bear. The parent had to physically restrain the child. Here's another, a human teenager trying to befriend a crocodile. Another human swimming with creatures called sharks, apex oceanic predators with rows of serrated teeth. She paused, letting that sink in. Humans have a documented phenomenon they call forbidden booping, where they feel an overwhelming urge to touch dangerous animals. They have a saying, if I cannot pet it, what is the point of existence? They say this about venomous spiders, about predatory lizards, about anything with fur, scales, or feathers. This is madness, Vectis muttered. This is collective species insanity. This is strategy, Dr. Nemeth corrected sharply. Because here's what you're not understanding. Every species humans have domesticated didn't just become tame. They became weapons. War dogs, guard dogs, tracking dogs. Horses carry human warriors into battle. Cats control vermin in human agricultural systems. Even their companions serve military purposes. She zoomed in on Lily, still in the arena with Moonpie, both visible on the security feeds. That child didn't just make a friend today. She neutralized our most effective execution method. She turned our weapon against us, and she did it without training, without technology, with nothing but instinct passed down through 40,000 years of human-canine partnership. General Krath stood abruptly. Then we separate them, immediately. Kill the beast if necessary. And tell the humans what, exactly, Morphix interjected, her form flickering. That we tried to execute their child, failed, and then killed the animal she bonded with. Do you want a war we cannot win? Because that's how you get a war we cannot win. The humans sent 17 rescue missions for this one child, Dr. Nemeth reminded them. 17. They lost 300 soldiers trying to retrieve her. What do you think they'll do if we harm her now, especially after this footage inevitably leaks? The room fell silent as the implications crashed over them like a wave. We've been approaching humans wrong, Chancellor Morphix said finally. We thought their weakness was attachment to their young, but that's not a weakness. It's a threat display. They're showing us what they're willing to sacrifice to protect their pack members. Recommendations? Vectis asked, sounding defeated for the first time in his military career. Dr. Nemeth pulled up a new document, one she'd been drafting during the past 4 hours. New protocols for human engagement. First, never, under any circumstances, threaten human children. Not as hostages, not as leverage, not even as hypotheticals in negotiations. Second, never assume a human cannot or will not befriend a predatory species. Third, update all threat assessments. Humans aren't dangerous because of their weapons. They're dangerous because they can turn our weapons into their allies. She looked directly at Vectis. Commander, you thought you were executing a child to demonstrate power. Instead, you demonstrated that humans can walk into our most secure facility and recruit our assets with nothing but kindness and snacks. Do you understand how that looks to the rest of the galaxy? Vectis said nothing. His scales had gone pale. New galactic protocols, High Priest Jolker announced, his voice heavy. Humans are to be classified as Category Apex diplomatic threats. All species are advised, do not threaten their young. Do not test their bonds. And for the love of all that's logical in this universe, do not introduce them to your predators unless you're prepared to lose those predators. What do we do about the girl and the wolf? Ambassador Vreet asked quietly. Everyone looked at the security feed. Lily had fallen asleep, curled against Moonpie's side. The massive white wolf was awake, watchful, its pale eyes scanning for threats, protecting its pack. We contact the humans, Morphix said heavily. We return their child, and we pray they're willing to negotiate. The Galactic Council's monthly assembly had become, much to everyone's dismay, a place where representatives gathered not to discuss trade agreements or territorial disputes, but to watch the latest updates from what the galaxy now called the Moonpie incident. Commander Vectis stood at the podium, his once vibrant crimson scales now a dull maroon that suggested he'd aged a decade in 6 months. Behind him, a massive display screen showed live footage from the human diplomatic vessel Harmony. On that screen, Lily Chen, now 9 years old, sat in what humans called a beanbag chair, while Moonpie, the former terror of the Krellian execution arena, dozed with his massive head in her lap. She was reading him a story, a children's book about, and this was almost too perfect, a boy who befriended a giant. Status report, Vectis said, his voice flat. The human child remains bonded to the asset formerly known as Snowfang. All attempts to reclaim the creature have been met with, and I'm quoting the human diplomatic corps here, absolutely not. Are you insane? She loves that dog. It's not a dog, General Krath muttered from his seat. It's a genetically engineered killing machine. It was a genetically engineered killing machine, Dr. Nemath corrected, pulling up behavioral data on her pad. Now it's a therapy animal. The humans have integrated Moonpie into their junior diplomatic program. That wolf who once executed traitors and war criminals now visits human hospitals to cheer up sick children. I have 17 documented cases of it, wearing, I cannot believe I'm saying this, costumes during human holidays. The screen split to show archived footage, Moonpie wearing a red coat with white trim during something called Christmas, Moonpie with a bow tie at a child's birthday party, Moonpie, most humiliating of all, with his fur dyed pink during an event humans called Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Ambassador Vreet's antennae had been permanently drooped since the incident. What about the child? Surely she's just a civilian casualty of war, soon to be forgotten. Oh, you'd think that, wouldn't you? Vectis pulled up new files, each one making him look more exhausted. Lily Chen is now the youngest recipient of the Human Federation's Medal of Bravery. She's been featured in over 500 news broadcasts. Human children across 7 colonies dress up as her for their costume parties. And here's my personal favorite detail. She's become an unofficial ambassador. How? Morphix asked, her gelatinous form a resigned blue. Does a 9-year-old become an ambassador? By being 9, Dr. Nemath said, pulling up communication logs. 3 separate species have requested meetings with humanity specifically because of her. The Exarian Collective, who we've been trying to open diplomatic channels with for 2 decades, sent a formal invitation for Lily to visit their homeworld. They want to know, and I quote, how the small human turned the fear beast into a friend beast. They're fascinated. High Priest Jolker, who'd lost considerable status among his people after the debacle, spoke quietly. The other species, they're not mocking us anymore, are they? They're scared, terrified, Vectis confirmed. Because here's what every species in the galaxy now understands. Humans can weaponize friendship. We sent our most dangerous predator against their child, and she turned it into a pet in under an hour. What else can they do? Can they befriend our soldiers? Our genship computers? Where does it end? The assembly chamber filled with uncomfortable shifting and nervous sounds from dozens of species. The Phylexian Empire has added a new clause to their first contact protocols, Ambassador Vreet reported. Subsection 12, Paragraph 4. Under no circumstances introduce humans to your military animals, guard creatures, or security beasts unless prepared for immediate loyalty transfer. The Brutarian warlords canceled their war dog breeding program entirely, General Krath added. They're worried human sympathizers might turn their entire army against them with belly rubs and snacks. And us. Vectis looked at the Krellian council members present. We've become a cautionary tale, a warning. 12 species have cited the Moonpie precedent in diplomatic negotiations. They're using us as an example of what not to do with humans. On the display screen, Lily finished her story and kissed Moonpie on his massive snout. The wolf's tail thumped against the floor, that same happy rhythm that had echoed through the execution arena 6 months ago. They're calling humans the tamers now, Dr. Nemath said. Some species use it with respect, others with fear. But everyone agrees on one thing. You don't test a species that can turn your weapons into their friend. New intelligence suggests, Vectis continued, pulling up a final file, that Earth has over 400 million domestic dogs, 400 million former wolves, now living in human homes, loyal unto death. That's not counting cats, horses, or the dozens of other species they've befriended. He paused, letting that number sink in. They didn't conquer those animals with superior firepower. They conquered them with kindness, consistency, and what humans call love. And now we understand what that means for galactic security. Chancellor Morphix spoke for the first time, her voice carrying the weight of official decree. Proposal, Earth and its colonies are hereby designated as diplomatic priority alpha. No military action, no threats, no tests of human resolve. And for every deity in the known universe, no one touches their children. The vote was unanimous. As the assembly dispersed, Vectis remained at the podium watching the screen. Lily had fallen asleep again, curled against Moonpie. The wolf was awake, alert, those pale eyes watching everything and everyone. Still a predator. Still dangerous. But now loyal to something other than the Krellian Dominion. Dr. Nemath approached, her eye stalks angled sympathetically. You know what the worst part is, Commander? Enlighten me. We thought we were testing the human, seeing if she'd break, if she'd beg, if she'd show us that humanity had limits. The xenobiologist gestured at the screen. But looking at this now, at everything that's happened, I can't help but wonder. Wonder what? We showed her exactly how we punish our enemies, and she turned it into a friendship, a symbol, a legend that's spreading across the galaxy. She pulled up one final image, a child's drawing that Lily had made, showing herself and Moonpie surrounded by dozens of different alien species, all smiling, all holding hands or tentacles or appendages. Who was training whom, Commander? Were we showing her the cost of defying us? Or was she showing the entire galaxy that humans can walk into your darkest places and make friends with your monsters? Vectis had no answer. In the end, the galaxy learned 3 important lessons from the Moonpie incident. First, never underestimate a species that domesticated wolves. And third, most important, if a human shows up with snacks and starts using a high-pitched voice around your apex predator, it's already too late. The predator is theirs now. Accept it, update your insurance policies, and pray they don't ask to pet anything else you were foolish enough to consider a weapon. Earth status was officially updated in the Galactic Registry. Approach with caution. Extreme diplomatic protocols required. Do not, under any circumstances, let them near your animals. They will befriend them. Yes, even that one. Especially that one. And somewhere in the human diplomatic vessel Harmony, Lily Chen scratched behind Moonpie's ears and whispered, "Good boy. Best boy. Who's protecting the galaxy now? You are. Yes, you are." The wolf's tail thumped 3 times. Somewhere in the Krellian High Command, an alarm technician updated the official threat assessment for humanity, changing it from aggressive expansion risk to something far more accurate. Apex friendship predators. Do not engage. Do not test. Do not introduce to fauna. The galaxy had been warned.